Welcome on Texas football time for Second Watch with Rod Babers, former NFL player, as well as all-conference player for the University of Texas. Rod, each and every Sunday, watches the game a second time and kind of gives his take on major things that he saw or key takeaways. Today, Rod, you want to talk about Arch Manning upon Second Watch. Obviously, that's the topic du jour after he just lit up Sam Houston State last night. And then also we want to talk about a couple of tweaks, both on offense and defense. This episode of On Texas Football brought to you by our friends over at Duck Camp. I'll tell you a little later how you can save 25% off all Duck Camp gear by using OTF25 as a discount code. All right, Rod, break it down for us. Arch Manning, 24 hours later and another rewatch through. What did you think, bud?
He really did look as close as he has all season to that Arch Manning that we saw in those two starts last season versus ULM and Mississippi State. He was confident out considering the opponent, but there were throws that he made that were on time, that were in rhythm, on schedule. And I do think a few of those throws, and we can mention them. I think the touchdown to Ryan Wingo, the deep touchdown to Ryan Wingo, that deep crossing route to DeAndre Moore. Honestly, that I love that deep out to Parker Livingstone they threw early in the first quarter. Those are throws that I think really doesn't matter. The opponent is not really, in my opinion, is not important when you're talking about those type of throws because they were so on the money that I think ultimately, as long as he is able to go through the operation and go through his progression, he can put that ball on the money against any opponent. So he got the swagger back. It was pretty obvious that he was, obviously having a good time. And he got into the face of the Sam Houston State defender. People are talking about that. And, my take is that watching it, and I went back and watched it several times, even the interaction he had with Sark, I thought was pretty cool. Ultimately for him, I think he's trying to figure out who his on-field persona is going to be. Right? I always talk about this all the time. You have especially for Arch Manning, who has to do interviews and do, he's got NIL deals and he's got all these different endorsements and stuff. He definitely is a different person that he on the field than he is off the field. Like it's almost like you have to have a different persona. I had mine. I won't even get into it, but there is a flip. You can switch a switch that you got to flip at times, and I think he's kind of learning that who his on-field personality, his on-field persona is going to be. And from what I hear, he talks a lot of trash at practice. He's the one that kind of instigate things at practice. He's got a lot of swag, talks a lot of trash. I need to see that guy on the field then. If that's the guy you are in practice, from what I hear, that's who you are in practice. You call out the defense and you're talking trash and you got swag. Okay, well, don't be a different guy on Saturday. I think the same guy. And I think we saw that guy. And we saw more of that guy last year in those two starts. So that's the Arch that we need to see more of. It seems like that's when he's comfortable and that's when he's playing his best. So I know that's not really X's and O's, but from a player standpoint, I had my persona. Trust me. What I mean? Black Caesar was his name, but I wouldn't get into all that. But he was a different guy on the field than he was off the field. And I think Arch is kind of learning too, because you have to be able to play with emotion without being emotional. And that's what I think you got to walk the line on. And I think he did a good job in that game. So good for him, man. Playing with passion, playing with joy. I thought he did a great job.
I rewatched the game as well, Rod. And one of the key throws I thought was the ball to Ryan Wingo over the middle where Arch took one right on the chin. He took a hit right on the chin, got rid of it quickly, made a quick decision, dialed it in. Let me ask you this. Did you notice any mechanical issues, or did those seem to go by the wayside after he got going in the first quarter? After it started going, those kind of evaporated, did they not?
They did, but I think Sark did a good job. Can we get into this a little bit? I love the game plan by Sark, and like I said, I know the opponent. I get it. Sam Houston State was one of the worst pass defense, if not the worst pass defense they've seen all season long, and we'll see. But Go look at the game plan by Sark. First of all, it's in his nature. And I know you've talked about this too. Sark's aggressive, and he's going to be aggressive. That first play was a shot play. It was designed for him to hit Parker Livingstone over the middle, he was actually open. And he didn't pull it. And I at that point, I was like, oh, man, I hope Arch isn't feeling a little gun shy here. That wasn't the case, obviously. But Sark dialed it up is my point. So we all thought Sark's going to get his young quarterback comfortable. He's going to get him in a rhythm. Let's get him some easy completions. No, Sark's like, no. He loves the deep ball. That's in his nature. That's what he likes. He's actually his deep ball right now. Just a little sidebar here. 52% completion percentage on his deep passes, 20 yards or more down the field. that is a crazy accuracy number on passes 20 yards or more down the field. It ain't the best in the country, but it's just that's pretty wild. Anyway, getting back to it, I think Sark did a great job. Even after the initial shot play didn't work and he tried to check it down and got batted, Sark got back into not only the things that makes the Sark offense unique and so tough to defend, but I think it worked well and was compatible with Arch's, skill set and the things that he does well. So I'll give you an example. First is the first drive. It was the first play was that shot play we were talking about. And it was open, by the way. It was schemed open. He just didn't take it. The third play was target to bunch. On that third play, which was I've talked about targets to bunch, which are really successful, averaging 13 yards per attempt in targets to bunch, over 25% explosive play rate this season on targets to bunch. I've talked about it ad nauseum, but Sark went back to it. Last game, you only had 2 targets to bunch in the whole damn game. And this game, Sark broke it out a ton. Fourth play was that Arch design run. He talks about how when he wants to get Arch going, what does he want to do? Sometimes I just got to run him just to kind of get him in the groove, get the blood going. Yeah, for him to kind of forget about all of the, I think all of the intricacies of the offense and all the little things he needs to worry about. It's like, no. I want to run him. And then it simplifies it for him. He stops thinking so damn much and he just starts playing football. The sixth play of the game, a Sark screen. Beautiful. All right. The love the misdirection. We've seen the Sark screen over and over again. It's easy. By the way, wasn't an easy completion, but he made it. Remember, that was a tough completion. You remember this?
There's a guy coming out. The defensive line was coming out at it, right? Yeah.
He was coming right at him, and he still put it on the money. Ended up being a really big play for Texas. The seventh play was a target to motion for Dalen McCutcheon on a cheat motion play, but ended up being a flag on the play. But my point is Sark's targets to motion are really successful for Texas. You're talking about so far this season, 72% completion percentage, almost 9 yards per attempt on targets to motion. Sark went back to some of the things that work in his offense, no matter who the damn quarterback is. The seventh play after that flag, of course, was a wide receiver screen, which was also a target to bunch. The eighth play was a straight drop back that Parker Livingstone deep out. So Parks basically from the formation, Sark basically isolated Parker Livingstone on that guy and was like, go beat him, go win a one-on-one. He also did the same thing on the 10th play of that drive with the Ryan Wingo double move on a slant and go. And the reason I like those 2 plays is because we've talked about why doesn't Sark just dial up more plays for his wide receivers to win one-on-ones? And just say, nah, go beat that guy. And he did. And this was on the first drive of the game. So my point is, I think Sark also went into his bag a little bit to make sure he was dialing up plays that were compatible with Arch's skill set and things that have worked in his offense, regardless of who the quarterback is. Targets to bunch, targets to motion, and the Sark screen, right? The Sark screen is money no matter who the hell is throwing it. So I like that. And by the way, we'll get into this. Not a lot of pre-snap motion. He was below 50% pre-snap motion rate in that game, guys. I think that was on purpose. I remember Arch's first start versus ULM. Remember the low pre-snap motion rate that I mentioned? I think he did it to say, nah. We're going to simplify it. The pre-snap penalties, you ain't got to worry about that. We're going to simplify things just a little bit more for you so that you can dial in and just focus on one play at a time. They talked about that in the broadcast.
Yeah, I agree with that. One other question. You wanted to mention this, and that is the amount they were in 12 personnel. You thought was significant as well. Before we do that and talk about that, as well as a couple of tweaks you saw to the defense, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Second Watch with Rod Babers, brought to you by our friends. Duck Camp makes gear for folks who live for being out there, whether that's in a duck blind at sunrise or on the 40 acres for a Saturday kickoff. Born right here in Austin, Duck Camp builds best-in-class hunting and fishing apparel that works just as well for a full day in the field as it does for a long day of tailgating. From sun protection shirts that keep you cool during those early season scorchers to their iconic game series hats that feel like instant classics. Duck Camp gear is ready for football season, hunting season, and every season in between. Get out there, stay out there, and hook them. Shop duckcamp.com. Right now, you could use promo code, get this, ontexas25, all one word, ontexas25 for 25% off anything in the Duck Camp store. It's an amazing deal. Also want to mention congrats to Richard Donahue for winning our Duck Camp giveaway at the tailgate this week. Congrats to nice. Richard. Hey, I wanted to ask you this whole idea about 12 personnel, Rod. What is it that you saw that you wanted to exactly talk about? Because obviously 12 personnel, the vernacular, one running back, two tight ends. Yep. That's where you came up with the number 12. What did you see on Saturday?
Well, usually, for Sark, just so you know, on average, his time here at Texas, you are running 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends, probably about 35% of the time on average. And so far this season, at San Jose State game, actually, we talked about it. That was probably the best showcase of 12 personnel since Sark has been here at Texas. You had all 5 different tight ends play, 4 tight ends that had targets in that game, and all of your big plays actually came out of 12 personnel in that game. But you didn't play more 12 than 11. 11 is one back, one tight end. That's Sark's baby. On third downs, that's when you're going to see 11 personnel like 90% of the time, unless it's third and short. And that's where you generate more of your explosive plays for Sark's offense in 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers on the field. This game, you were more 12 personnel than 11. Now, that has happened like maybe once or twice in Sark's tenure here. That happened a ton. But I think this feels different.
Is it because they have better tight ends or more of them?
I think you have more variety. And who knew Emory Winston's was going to be playing this much? You got guys like Emory Winston's playing, and Jordan Washington, and Jack Hendry's wasn't even. I don't believe he had a target.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, and a guy's already established himself. We already know. That's an NFL tight end for you right there. And they, and they like Spencer Shannon as their kind of the best blocking tight end. It's pretty clear, he's in there on most of their running downs. He's also, I got to go back and think. I'm not sure he's got a target so far this season.
I don't think so.
Right. And Nick Townsend is another guy they throw in there. So I think the variety of the tight end position and the depth of the talent at tight end makes it feels different than any other time where they've had over 60% 12 personnel in a game like they did in this matchup. So I think you may be more explosive out of 12 than you've been in recent years. And I kind of predicted this in the offseason. I said they'd have more, you're going to have more balance. You're going to have more balance and I think a little bit more of your target share will be spread out among just, multiple tight ends. I had no idea you'd be this deep. I was just talking about between your top 2 tight ends. I had no idea that you'd be playing 4-5 tight ends. And I wonder, this is the question, in that Florida game, on the road, start of SEC play, does this fixation with 12 personnel continue for Sark? Or is this just, you know what, we wanted to basically minimize a lot of the potential intricacies of the offense with 3 wide receivers on the field. We want to basically exert our advantage at the line of scrimmage against Sam Houston State. So that's why we ran 12. Or will we see more 12 personnel and we'll see the variety in it of 3-4 different tight ends that are playing for Texas going into SEC play? That's going to be interesting, especially with the bye week. To work on some of those things too. But it's clear this 12 personnel that Texas has now is personnel package is easily the most talented Texas has had since Sark has been here. It's not even close.
Interesting because they have so many. It's not JT Sanders and Gunnar Helm aren't very good. They just have so
Okay,
many.
awesome.
Yeah. I want to go. I want to say this. We are going to have more detailed breakdowns on Arch Manning this week and talking about things that he's done. I think that's going to be interesting, whether it's a drop back or play action, all that kind of stuff. We'll talk more about that. But next, Rod, in this second watch, you wanted to talk about a couple of tweaks and moves they made on defense, starting at cornerback, and then also mentioning some rush packages and something that you saw. What do you want to talk about at quarterback, Rod? Cornerback. Excuse me.
Yeah, Grayson Littleton is. I mean, we all know that he's a prodigy and has been the starting nickel for Texas. When they went with a big nickel package, which is when they I call it big nickel. That's old school term. It's when they use three safeties. It's their three safety package. When they have Derek Williams, Michael Taft, and Jelani McDonald on the field, they put Grayson Littleton at corner.
Opposite Manny Muhammad, correct?
Opposite Manny Muhammad. And that was interesting to me because in terms of your top coverage players, I mean, he probably is your second best coverage defender behind Manny Muhammad at this time. And because Gilbo's been targeted. We talked about this. Going into this game, I think he was allowing 10 yards per target in this. So now it looks like they have another option if they go with the three safety package, put Grayson Littleton at the cornerback position. And I want to say that was maybe the third drive of the game. It's pretty early in this matchup where we saw that. So that stood out to me because, we hadn't – I don't know how much we've seen of that so far this season. Also, they played more press. Now I got to go track it. Haven't actually tracked the percentage or rate of press coverage so far this season. But I feel like this, just eye test wise, and I've watched obviously every game multiple times, I feel like they played more press in this matchup. Now, maybe that's because they have no fear of Sam Houston State's wide receivers. And they figured, you know what, we want to get a shutout. Let's be more aggressive and let's, take the wide receivers out of the game and we can force 3 and outs and really put the pressure on Sam Houston State. That could be the case. So it could be matchup specific. But I feel like Texas is going to go that way at one point with the kind of DBs they're recruiting. I've talked about this with guys like Cade Phillips, long, lanky defensive backs, guys who kind of remind me of some of those Legion of Boom guys. And that Sark has even said that they want to be more aggressive and they want to play aggressive man coverage. So they played some press coverage, probably more than I've seen them. And Cade Phillips was up, and Sark Malik Muhammad playing up, and Grayson Littleton playing up and playing some press man. So I just wonder if that trend may continue. Do we see a little bit more of that in SEC play, or was that just matchup specific? Like I said?
Interesting. What about the pass rush? You mentioned they did something with Anthony Hill last night that you wanted to talk about.
Well, just a percentage of pass. Now, this is from Pro Football Focus, but also something I saw earlier on too, even early, like I said, within the first 3 drives of the game defensively for Texas, using Anthony Hill in some of their simulated pressures and putting him on the edge more. And I went and looked it up to try to figure out, all right, you know what, do the analytics match the eye test? So here are the percentage of snaps that Anthony Hill has been used as a pass rusher in the first 4 games. 11%, 13%, 17%, and 28% versus Sam Houston State. So now he didn't play as many snaps because obviously they played a lot of guys. They played 75 players, I believe, total. So they ended up playing a lot of guys. So he didn't play as much. But when you look at the percentage of snaps where he was actually designated as a pass rusher, it's really interesting. Seems to be rising. Now, this is a guy, guys, whose career, you go look at his career pressure rate is like over 20% as a pass rusher. When he's used as a pass rusher, he hasn't had a season yet where he's had over 100 pass rush snaps in a season. But we've all known he's got an 8-sack season or a 5-sack season. Had a 30% pressure rate last season when he was used as a pass rusher. And I've said on the record, they have to get him over 100 pass rush snaps this season. Right now, I think he's averaging around 6.2 pass rush snaps a game. I'd like to see him in 7 or 8 range considering how deep you are at linebacker too. I mean, you can trust Leon LaFau to hold it down. You can trust Anthony Smith to hold it down while you move him around and make him a weapon on the edge. So I think that's interesting that, his percentage of snaps being used as a pass rusher are increasing. Is that something we see more of when they start SEC play? Because that it should, by the way, they should use him as a pass rusher more, especially in them NASCAR packages. Man, they should move him around, which they have, and kind of have him on the edge and doing some more exotic things.
All right, I have one more question for you, but before you do that, I just want to remind folks about our friends at duckcamp.com. Use promo code ONTexas25 for 25% off of Duck Camp gear, all Duck Camp gear. It's born right here in Austin. Duck Camp builds best-in-class hunting and fishing apparel that works just as well for a full day in the field as it does for a long day of tailgating. Duck Camp gear is ready for football season, hunting season, and every season in between. Use code ONTexas25. Rod, summing it up, your second watch, what would you say that you saw and the lasting impacts of this game for you?
I saw an offense that gained a lot of confidence, and there was a lot of John going on on the offensive side of the ball for Texas, but that's a good thing. All right, I think these guys are not trying to find, and Sark said it was big for team morale. And I guess not only for Arch, but I think there's a trickle down effect. I think for everybody on the offense, this was a great game for them to the get right game right before the bye week, which, how you go into the bye week, whether people want to admit it or not, oftentimes you have time to either stew in that negativity and pessimism, or your confidence continues to grow based on the performance that you had, obviously, right before the bye week. And the performance they had was a magnificent one offensively. So Arch, in my opinion, is just going to be able now to be a better leader. He talked about, at least on the broadcast, they mentioned he didn't feel like he could be the best leader because he wasn't playing well. That's true. That's just because he's willing to be accountable. It's like, nah, man, how can I call guys out about being accountable when I'm not playing well? What that look like? That's hypocritical. I can't call you out as a teammate and go, man, I need you to play better. And they go, well, really? Can you do that? That's part of being a leader on a football team, guys. If you got to be playing well to call another guy out, and now he's playing well, so there's more leadership now available too. So much of that I think is gonna carry over from the bye week into obviously start of SEC play.
All right, I like that term, get right game. I think that's well put, Rod. All right, that's second watch with Rod Babers. Thanks to Rod as well as our sponsor, duckcamp.com. I'm Bobby Burton. You guys have a good one. We'll be back later tonight. Rod Babers and Jerry Hamilton on the Sunday night live stream. Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.